afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by expressing my condolences to all the families and friends of those who were killed in New Zealand in the horrendous mosque attack in Christchurch yesterday. As some of you know, or most of you would know, that 40 people died in the terror attack, and that was against the Muslim people in New Zealand, one of those very quiet, peaceful countries, and now you have the terrorism there, not perpetrated by anybody other than white racist people. Now this is my starting point, but of course I feel deeply sorry for this loss. I don't want to go beyond saying that I my heartfelt condolences to all the people who lost their lives, but I don't want to draw any parallels beyond that, but to say that terrorism will never go away unless the world unites to stop it. We cannot continue in the way that we are going, in the way we are practicing our warfare and civil rights if we are not going to attend to terrorism. And this is a convenient starting point for me. And it's to point out the dangers of the LTTE even now. I'm going to talk about what happened with the LTTE before, but let me first draw the parallels. That just a few weeks ago in Britain, in the United Kingdom, there were cases of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, which acknowledged that they were sending bombs through packages to the post. But fortunately, nobody died because the police could intervene and they could defuse the bombs. But that was a signal from the IRA about the Brexit that is happening in Britain. That's again to tell you that terrorism just does not fade away. Terrorism won't fade away. It's always alive and active, and we have to be prepared to put it down whenever it raises its head. We have been fortunate after 26 years of terrorism in Sri Lanka that we could finally, through the brave soldiers, airmen and sailors, and a strong government and strong leadership, we were able to put down the vilest terrorist outfit in the world. Believe me, and everybody knows that it is the vilest terrorist outfit, the LTTE. And it was put down militarily, but its spirit lingers on. Its followers are still there, and they have many forms of their activities of which we are aware of and of which we would want the international community to take action against. That is our aim now. The IRA's experience in Ireland is a poignant indicator for us that terrorism will always come up unless there is a change of heart amongst the community that has the terrorism within its fold. We have come to an agreement with the Tamil people that it's our land that we are both have a part in, that we have to live in peace and unity. We have to be working together, and that terrorism has absolutely no place, and division and communal disharmony should not be allowed. And now I would like to make some very important characterizations with regard to the LTTE. First is the definition of terrorism. Terrorism is anything to do with terrorizing people, violence against the body politic, violence against human beings. And there will be all kinds of definitions, and there will be all kinds of exceptions that people want to bring about to forgive terrorist activities of certain movements. Historically, there were freedom fighters, as people call them, who practiced terrorism. And this has given a certain aura for people taking up arms to fight for causes. You always are brought to believe that fighting for a cause is holy. Fighting for a cause is valuable in terms of what you believe in. But it is not true. We all know that the Gandhian principle of non-violence is the only way of achieving lasting change for the good of mankind. Even India pays scant respect for Gandhi and his values. But it is, I know there are detractors with regard to Gandhi. There were mistakes that he made. I'm not denying that. But his core beliefs are the ones that we should espouse. And anything other than that, where people take up arms and kill people, the civilians, against the government, against the ruling administration, against the military, any form of violence is terrorism. Let's not hide about discussing about there are exceptions. There are no exceptions to terrorism. The world must acknowledge the fact that there is no place for terrorism. And for too long, the West has been pursuing this by supporting right through across the world, in different continents, movements that were practicing violence against their own people, their own governments, their own institutions and whatever. That has to stop. And the LTTE is the leading force after the post-war period, Second World War period. It was the most powerful, and it still is there, but it was the most powerful and most dangerous and vilest terrorist organization that ever came to being in this world. They created the Taliban in Afghanistan, and they are also the forerunners of the IS. Suicide bombings is their own inventions, and the assassination of civilians, heads of state, ministers, government officials, religious leaders, children, school children. There was no other terrorist organization has killed so many the way that the LTT has done. And I find it extremely difficult to understand anybody saying that the LTT is not a terrorist organization. So, yes, what is the reason for the LTT is to continue even now? And that is because of the international involvement. What we have to fight about here is to indicate what kind of a danger that the LTT posed at that time and what it's going to pose now, today. We're going to face them, believe me, in the next few years, so long as the West supports them, provides them with the necessary means and the outlets to fight the Sri Lankan establishment. We are going to face a return of the Tigers. And that's what we have to be prepared. And that's what we have to tell the international community, that their hands are as steeped in the quagmire like everybody else's. They have to classify the LTT as a terrorist organization, and that they have to completely and honestly work against terrorism, not only the LTT, but everybody else. I think I'm running out of time, so I will conclude by mentioning that we have the Tamil demands now for the Human Rights Council will only bring about the enslavement of Sri Lanka to the West. And that is what we are not going to allow. So the other speakers will have an opportunity to back me up on that. Thank you.